Hi, welcome to Therapy for Nerds, psychoeducation through nerdy topics. If you like therapists slapping psychological meanings and theories onto all sorts of nerdy stuff, please go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. My name is Cassidy, I am a licensed marriage and family therapist, and let's get into today's topics. I mentioned in my Coraline video that I love watching certain things during the fall season. One of those things is Over the Garden Wall. Since it was first released, my husband and I have made a point to watch the whole series at least once a year, though I've already watched it twice this year. We both love the style of animation, the characters, the silly songs, and the darker tones. It's a show that dances the line between dark and silly in such a masterful way, and I highly recommend it. The basic plot is two characters, Wirt and Greg, get lost in the woods and are trying to find their way home. Along the way, they have a crazy adventure where I'm pretty sure they encounter the devil himself. It's been described as Dante's Inferno for kids, and though I've never read Dante's Inferno, I would imagine it's not too far off. But now we're going to go ahead and get into spoiler territory, so if you haven't checked it out, please go and do so now. You have been warned. And I mean, come on guys, it's basically, if you watch it all back to back, it's like a movie. Go and do it. Just do it. Originally, I wasn't sure if I wanted to do this video on Wirt's anxiety or the woodman's maladaptive coping skills, but I ended up deciding on going in a completely another direction. Locus of control. So what is locus of control? The theory basically surrounds how people experience and then interpret their experiences of their life, successes, and failures. There are two types of locuses of control, internal and external. Please keep in mind that the world is more of a continuum. People could be more on one side or the other, but for this purpose we're going to be focusing more on the opposite extremes. A person with a strong locus of control would feel that their successes are based on their own merit. They won the soccer game because they were more skilled players. A person with a strong external locus of control would feel that life happens due to outside forces. They won the soccer game because of destiny or because the other team lost its best player. Which reminded me of my old Philosophy 101 debate between free will and determinism. Did we do the thing because we wanted to, or because fate had it be so? I'm not here to debate either side of that. I'm just here to talk about the psychological ramifications of either way of thinking and then relate it back to Over the Garden Wall. I already had Philosophy 101. I don't really need to do that again. The only fairly clear example of internal locus of control is Greg. Greg is a pretty impulsive child. He just kind of does whatever he wants whenever he wants to do them, as seen by him throwing their money away, throwing candy in the dog's face. It's who thinks of this stuff? Near the end, when Greg goes into Dreamland, we see just how strong his internal locus of control is. He takes Wirt very seriously when Wirt says that he can be in charge. Even though they are lost and close to death through no real fault of his own, I mean, kid's only been in charge a few minutes, Greg blames himself. He puts the burden of getting them home entirely on himself and takes full responsibility when it looks like all hope is lost. And that's when Greg is willing to do the ultimate sacrifice, which is heartbreaking to see this small child be willing to go that far for his brother who, up to this point, debatably doesn't care that much for him. A very clear example of locus of control is Lorna. Lorna is under some sort of curse or spell that forces her to obey any command that is said after someone rings a specific bell. Auntie Whispers, who is the best character, by the way. Oh my god, I loved him. Great. Anyways, Auntie Whispers, we'll see if I cut that out. Auntie Whispers uses the bell to keep her busy so that she doesn't have time to eat people. Another part of the curse for some reason? Not really sure where that comes in, but it's a thing, so whatever. Lorna does not feel like she has any control over her life, which, to be fair, she really doesn't. She's only able to do what she wants by tricking her aunt, and even then, there's the darkness that she cannot control. She's finally able to take control of her life when Wirt vanquishes the darkness by commanding it to leave her alone. We don't get to see much of her after that, so we don't really get to see how this impacts her view of the world. For those who have seen the show, you will not be surprised when I say that Wirt's locus of control for most of the show is external. Heck, he spends most of the show complaining about Greg and blaming everything that happens on Greg. In the very first episode, we see him and Greg totally destroy the woodsman's place, and Wirt puts the blame on Greg. The woodsman, however, blames Wirt for the destruction because he's the oldest and should be taking care of his brother and stopping him from doing crazy stuff like that. Beatrice even comments on how Wirt pretty much does everything other people tell him to do, which becomes the main conflict in one of the episodes, which causes Wirt to act pretty salty. When we see the flashback of Wirt, we see how timid he was in his former life. He wanted to ask Sarah out, but he backed off immediately once he heard that Jason Thunderburger was slightly interested. But no one should be intimidated by Jason Thunderburger. I mean, look at this kid. He looks like a goat. Frog, even. Wirt was about to give up on his crush over this guy calling him the whole package? No. Just no. My sweet child, no. The woodsman also grapples with his external locus of control. This time it takes the form of the literal devil, the beast. I mentioned the woodsman's maladaptive coping skills at the beginning of this video, and I think it still plays into this notion. The woodsman cuts down trees to fuel the lantern to save the soul of his daughter. Only the beast never proves to him that his daughter is in the lantern. The beast is just like, hey, this is your daughter now. And the woodsman is like, well crap, I guess this is my life now. He doesn't think to change it because he thinks it's out of his control, despite the fact that it is very much within his control. Sometimes we get stuck in these patterns and we just don't see how damaging they are at the time. By the time we notice, we start to think that there is no way out and that we dug this hole too deep and that's just it. That's why I love the ending to this series. It's so simple. Up until this point, we can see how similar the woodsman is to Wirt. Both have an external locus of control. We see Wirt completely give up at one point. I mean, he starts to become a tree before Greg offers to take his place. When we see the beast give him the lantern, I actually held my breath the first time watching this. For a split second, I thought this might be how the show ended. Would have been a little depressing for something on Cartoon Network, and that's not on Adult Swim. Wirt's refusal the first time surprised and impressed me. I loved it. Instead of doing what the beast says, Wirt questions him. Wirt asks why he should do something just because someone else tells him he needs to do it. We get to see Wirt really take control of his life, and at the end we even get to see him talk to Sarah. Now, when I was looking up things on locus of control to brush up in order to make this video, I thought it was interesting just how much of a negative context the external locus of control has received. Granted, I just added to that a little bit. But I think it's important to remember that there are cases where external locus of control is not a bad thing, like in the Serenity Prayer. To change the things you can and to accept the things you can't. People do not have control over many aspects of their life. Wirt did not have much of a choice when it comes to being in the unknown in the first place. What he did have control of is how he reacted to being in the unknown. Greg took too much responsibility for getting them home, when it was not really something he had any control over. But anyways, this has been a video of therapist thoughts, digging deeper into a children's cartoon than a high school English teacher digs into To Kill a Mockingbird. If you liked this video, providing psychoeducation through nerdy topics, please like, comment, subscribe, all that other YouTubery stuff. Bye.